Hello, everybody, and here we go again. We've got the International Summer of Cricket is only a few days away. So it all starts on Friday at Eden Park between New Zealand and the West Indies. So tonight on Swing from the Hip, we'll be looking at the T20 squads for the Black Caps and for the West Indies. And we'll also look at the ODI series starting in Australia on Friday. That's between Australia and India. And so we've got a couple of squads to look at there for the ODI series. And we'll probably get a bit of time to look at the Plunket Shield, just see where we've left off there as well. But joining me tonight is not our normal cricket aficionados, but our normal rugby aficionado. Paul, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm on the show. Yeah, it's
You're on the show. It's been a while. Is it the first time? No, it's been a while. You're way back early days. You've been on it.
I don't think so. I think I might have produced it. I think I was at Shine. But look, I've converted the studio into a cricket studio.
Well, I've still got my rugby flags up.
Yeah, you are wearing your Aces cap.
So I got my Aces cap on, exactly, absolutely, and my Test and Tag shirt just for sponsorship.
Well, absolutely, absolutely.
Anywho, how's your day been today?
Not bad. I've broken down all my pallets, so I need to go get some more pallets. I got two more, so I need to build up some pallets to break down. Yeah, so there we go, folks. Get free firewood from my to 10 today. Getting my free pallets from there to burn. But yes,
and he's not talking about little pallets. He's talking about the big pallets that you put stuff on.
Yep. I've got some of this day in history stuff for you.
Yeah, I was just going to throw to you. I was going to say, Paul's been able to have a bit of time to find some stuff from this day in history, which I've sort of flagged because I just don't have the time to prep anymore. But so let's throw to Paul and this day in history.
Okay, can you remember a Test batsman? Oh, stay on with me. I'm going to discuss it with you. Not going to read it out.
Hang on.
Who officially the youngest Test batsman at the time was born on this day. He played when he was 15 years old and 124 days, and he was also the youngest Test centurion at 17 years and 82 days. Who do you think that was?
Wasn't Sachin Tendulkar?
No, it was not.
No, I know because actually I can't remember who it was, but actually that I did actually have that as one of my facts on the show many moons ago. So, but no, I can't. It's all gone. I can't remember.
I think Taz would know
because I was going to say I'm pretty sure it was a Pakistan player.
Yeah, Mushtaq Mohammed was born on on the not this day because it's not the it's the 22nd and it's what day is today? 23rd.
Yesterday. So he's a day old already.
He's a day older than that already. Yep. In 2009. Sachin Tendulkar became the first man to break 30,000 international runs on the final day of the first test between India and Sri Lanka. Oh, that's quite a good one. So yeah, that was there. And on this day in history, the fifth tightest test result of all time was when New Zealand beat Pakistan by 4 runs in Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi do.
Oh, only 2 years ago.
Yep. No, that's right. And so there was, I think there's one test at 3, a test at 2, and a test at 1 runs. That is.
Oh, I see. I mean, yes. Sorry. Yep. I find it funny that the home side looked to have it in the bag. The home side in Abu Dhabi. Well, okay. They were quite a long way from home with Pakistan at the time, but there you go.
They've been a long way from home for a long time. So the series that they've just had against Zimbabwe is the first time that Pakistan's had a home series against anybody for a very long time. So the UAE had become a second home to them for quite considerable amount of time in recent decade.
And obviously, I guess you mentioned on the show that England are set to tour Pakistan for 2 T20 games next year ahead of the T20 World Cup. Well, that'll be England's first time since Gatting did that to a Pakistani umpire.
That's going to be happening. 2 years. I didn't realize it was only 2. I knew they were going. I didn't realize it was only 2 games.
Just ahead of the T20 World Cup. Alan Donald also became the first African to take 300 Test wickets during the first Test against New Zealand. Back on the day. So a few interesting ones there. A few key milestones in that one. Yeah, and not too many birthdays.
Yes.
We're trying to avoid birthdays.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's got a birthday. This is like, it's funny, just so people are aware. I mean, like, where we get the information from, the stats from, or it's just like you just got screeds of these first class players having birthdays. It's like, never heard of them. Never heard of them.
Also, this was Viv Richards and Gordon Greenwich made their debuts
Test
against
debut.
India.
Yep, in India this week.
That was
That's
back
right.
in 1974, the year I was born. Wow.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that actually. The fact that Gordon Greenwich, you always sort of put Greenwich and Haynes together, and so you don't realise that Haynes actually came onto the scene and became a partnership with Gordon Greenwich quite a lot later in Gordon Greenwich's Test career. But for me, as someone growing up, or it was not growing up, but being young and watching cricket in the late 70s and through the 80s, it's like Greenwich and Haynes were the best opening partnership around, sort of for a long time. So yeah, but Gordon Greenwich starting a long time before Desmond Haynes.
Yep. So yeah, that's this week in history for us this week. Making your welcome return.
Make a welcome return. Oh, go on and do some cricket news then for the week. Yeah.
Okay then. Well, did you know that the USA Cricket has a new home?
No, I know someone that would have known that. Do you know who would have known that? A regular viewer of the show, Simon. Simon knows that sort of fact.
No, well, no, he's already said that that he's disappointed we're only having one day international series this summer.
Yep. Yeah. In a jam-packed calendar, because it is quite a jam-packed calendar. As soon as West Indies haven't even started, and I'm talking about them leaving, but as soon as the West Indies leaves, we're straight into Pakistan. Yeah, it's quite a jam-packed calendar, but we don't get too many ODIs happening.
What about this thing then, that the West Indies are going to be playing 2 games at the same time during their tour?
Look, it's yep. Well, it's happening in Australia too, actually. So while the ODI series is going on between Australia and India, there's a first class game that India will be involved in as well. So I think it's just because both teams, with COVID, have brought in extended squads, and you got to keep them up sharp, for want of a term. You don't want to have players that have been sitting around for 3 months and play minutes of sport, do you? So it's you want to make sure that they've got game time and they're not getting splinters. Also, the fact is that within cricket, you got the varied format, so you'll have players that'll come over that don't play all formats, and you don't want them coming off cold when they start to play an international. So they've got the test matches coming up after the T20 for the West Indies. You want them to make sure that they've got a few minutes under their belt out in the middle.
Yeah, I wonder if it's it makes a disadvantage to those players who do want to play both formats. Will they be able to?
That's not an issue. It's more a case of the fact is that the guys that have only turned up, let's say, for the test matches, they're getting some game time. You won't see anything detrimental, I don't believe, unless managers want to do some sort of rotation type policy. But the reality is, if they're coming here to win, they'll just select whoever they believe is the best. Doesn't matter whether they've played already in T20 and ODIs and then they're moving through to the test matches, or whether they're just coming for the test matches. They will select for that format the best team that they can. I think, to tell you the truth, the one area where they'll
being old-fashioned here, that it used to take time for players to adjust between the formats, whereas now they do it so often that
that's something, and we'll get into this actually when we talk about the Black Caps in particular. And this will apply to some of the West Indies players, but Black Caps in particular some of them haven't played any T20 since the CPL, which is the Caribbean Premier League, and they've been playing first class cricket over here in New Zealand. So that's 4-day format. It'll be interesting to see how they go in that first ODI. I'll just get to the last format that's left, the first T20, with them not having played any of that format for quite some time, and even the warm-up game that's been played, but with New Zealand A was effectively a first-class match, not a T20.
Okay. Well, they've had a 3-day game, haven't they? Down in Queenstown.
That's the first-class game. Yeah, exactly. So, but there's no West Indies. Or I mean, like there's some key West Indian players that have come out of the IPL, as they have for the Black Caps as well. But majority of the squad won't have played any T20 cricket from both sides, I feel, since the CPL, which is the Caribbean Premier League.
And not all the Kiwi players were over there either, were they? No, it's not. I mean, there would be some players
not
not at
all. Yep. Some of them haven't played any T20 since the previous season. That was COVID affected.
At least the West Indies will have played. They will all have been in action.
West Indies have obviously had a couple of series actually. So or at least one against England, which was about a month and a half ago. They played the Test matches, ODIs, and T20s over there in England. So they probably played a bit more. But to be honest, even that was I don't think it makes much of a difference. It was so long ago.
So back to what I was going to talk about, which was the
USA.
As Simon says, USA are planning to be a test nation by 2030. And they have gone and bought themselves a stadium in the former Dallas baseball stadium. Is now apparently going to become the home of USA cricket. So I
was in America at the beginning of this year, and interestingly enough, there's universities are actually putting cricket grounds in. So the college, the university, there's a New Orleans that actually won the college trophy for the American football. Oh God, mine's gone blank. But anyway, they're putting a cricket oval in. So it's quite surprising. I think there is a lot of expat Indians and even naturalized Indians. Then I'm not talking red American Indians type thing. I'm talking about from India that are living in America. So the population base is there to actually build cricket teams in America. So wow, that was a loud truck. But yeah, the population base is there. So if it's a case of, I think like quite a few sports really in America, because of their population base, they can actually get enough players for any sport if they do the planning and strategy and everything to make it happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You say they've got a big enough population and they could do it. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about Americans. We'd talk about First Nation people.
Of course you would.
Because we're the what I've whatever the word is. Anyway, moving on. Look, great. They've got a proper stadium, $20 million stadium. Jeez, imagine. And that was a few years back. Anyway, Fakhar Zaman is apparently out of the New Zealand tour after developing COVID symptoms. So he won't be coming over with Pakistan for the tour to New Zealand.
I'll just take a step back. Sorry, Paul. And sorry, I mean, we just talked about the, Indians from India, but English West Indians. There's the cricket population in America is big. Interesting with so moving on to what you've just mentioned. It's interesting. So he's come down with COVID, and won't be coming. Big hit for Pakistan.
Apparently while they were isolating in their hotel in Lahore before coming over, he's built up. So unfortunately, he's going to miss out now.
That'll be an extra test for the rest of the team. Not test cricket, COVID tests. Well, that's what happened in the previous times when players have ended up getting it. They just go and they do a higher testing regime to make sure that the rest of the team hasn't picked it up. So they'll do a test and then 3 days later they'll retest. So generally that's what's been happening. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody else does come as positive in a second round and if they do, what the impact could be.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that one. You're talking about that being an impact for Pakistan team. Apparently, he's only scored more than 25 runs once in an international innings in the past 2 years. So not been very prolific.
No. I just sort of I think in the PSL, I think he's been doing not too bad. So that's sort of just
second highest score in the PSL.
Yeah, so I was sort of like looking at that or thinking back to that, and sort of like in a bit of form at the moment, maybe able to reverse his international career.
They've not apparently named a replacement as yet. The BBL. David Warner said he's not going to ever play in the BBL. So he's not been apparently he's not played for a number of years. He's not expected to play during his international career. Basically, just on just time away from home there. Telling. So he said he's not expecting to take part in it. Apparently, that was one of the big selling points initially, was that these sort of players would be available for the BBL, but he's not played for a long time.
It's almost like our Mitre 10 Cup over here in terms of rugby. Is the fact is that you've got those international players. I mean, we've just mentioned before that we will go through the Australia-India squads, and that's starting on Friday as well. So, you'll get the BBL starting, and you've got this international summer where David Warner's. We're talking of players involved in all formats of the game. There is one player that's involved in all formats of the game. So T20s, ODIs, Test matches. He's one of the first names after the captain that go down on a piece of paper for Australia. So and then obviously his international forays into things like the IPL. So I think two things there. Obviously the international summer of cricket, and he's involved with the Australian international team, and then put on top of that his traveling around the world for other tournaments, and then if he does get an opportunity, he's going to put his feet up at home, isn't he, with a family?
Yeah, and that's basically what he said is you do need a break. I mean, you've got IPL, CPL, BBL, SPL. I mean, Pakistan Premier, the PPL. How many of these leagues can these players play in? Obviously, that's what switched me off from cricket was these players playing in all these different leagues and predominantly different teams. It just got confusing as to who they're playing for this week.
I think that sort of fanaticism or fanatical aspect of the game disappears when you've got players playing for so many teams over a season, and it's just like, well, you're not really supporting a team, if you know what I mean. You'll support your local team, and that's about it. And then it's hard to engage in a competition when you don't support a team.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cycling, a sport I do follow, there is people don't tend to support teams; they tend to support a rider. I wonder if we're ever going to get to that stage with cricket, is that actually people will support a player rather than necessarily supporting a team, and then we'll support whatever team he's in while he's there, and when he moves, they'll change. So we'll see if that's
we'll see what happens.
Yep. Arun says that Kohli will miss.
Kohli's missing because he's got his kid on the way, so he's got exemption to be with the wife and new expectant child, and that means that I don't think that he actually comes back. I'm not sure if he comes back for the test even. I'll just have a quick. Just going to quickly.
If he's got to come and then spend 14 days isolating, I mean, it'll be the end of the series by then. Series aren't that long anymore.
They've got a 4 test match series to go as well. So
4.
He is currently named in the squad for India. Sorry, for Australia. He is currently named in the squad, so it will be interesting to see if he does make it back. Because you say 2 weeks of quarantining for them once they get back, unless they get some sort of special exemption, but I don't see that happening.
No, not really.
Just put that back to how it was. Otherwise, I'll have a problem later.
Aaron thinks that he's going to miss the test already. Well, we'll
So there you go. So yep, he's basically won't be traveling to Australia and getting a tan.
So yeah, those are the key, the key ones for me. As I say, it's England warming up for one of their series. You've got India and Australia going as well. I mean, just there's an awful lot of
yes,
awful lot of cricket going on.
I saw that and it was like, oh yes, I just saw that too. As another new T20 league starting off in Sri Lanka. Interesting one, this one, because it's only got 5 teams in it. So you're not going to have a round or not that they have rounds anyway. Really, when we look at the IPL, but you still sort of try to have that sort of even amount of games. So you'll always have somebody taking a back seat.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just a couple of comments from both Simon and Aaron in the chat room. Is like Friday, you're going to have Sky Sport on one screen and Spark Sport on another screen while you're watching 2 games, and it's a case of how many people are going to be watching cricket in New Zealand? There will be a big audience for the first game, and there's a good reason why there'll be a big audience for the first game. The first T20 game is actually live on TV1, free to air.
Wow.
So the first one is
the first. Let's be honest.
Sorry?
That's a good move by Stark.
Oh, yeah, look, initially I saw that and I sort of thought, I didn't, you just saw a snapshot and I thought, well, who's going to subscribe to Spark Sport if everything's going to be free on TV1? But it's actually just the first game of every series, for want of a term. So the first game of the T20, first game of the ODI, first of the Test match. I'm not sure about the, but that for all the teams coming to New Zealand. So it's obviously the bait in the water to try and hook everybody in, and then they're like, oh, I want to watch cricket. I better sign up to Spark Sport.
Yep, get it free for the first X, and then then hope people stay on, kind of thing. But this way, provide the first game free and people go on. Cool. Anyway, we're 20 minutes in, so should we start the show?
Oh yeah, okay. That's right. I was just reading another comment, which was only relevant to me. But yes, let's move on and let's look at the West Indian squad. Well, we'll look at a couple of key players in the West Indian squad, and there we have it. I'll scroll through it so that you guys can see who's coming along. But the first name on the list there, absolutely superstar of the game in my mind, is Chiron Pollard. Fantastic hitter of the ball, and just in coming out fresh out of the IPL, where he's a championship winning IPL, and he's going to be. We look forward to him. Sort of, well, I don't know. Do we, as a Black Caps fan, do I look forward to him putting a ball over the fence, or do I look forward to getting him as an early wicket? But look, he's in sensational form. He was finishing off for the Mumbai Indians very well. Even in that last game here, the game was already won when he came in and he tried to finish it quickly, so it didn't really matter that he lost his wicket. But he's been finishing for the Mumbai Indians very well. They set up at the top end of the innings very well, and then Chiron Pollard came along and finished it. And he started off, got his eye on and accelerated a great rate of knots. So there's he's named captain as well, so big name there right off the bat to come along and see. And then straight underneath him, the Sergeant Major, Sheldon Cottrell. He's one of their sort of, he just makes things happen, is probably the best way to put it. He looks a bit innocuous when he comes along, but he picks up the wickets at crucial times. So between those two, I think they're quite 2 key players there at the top. They're quite conveniently at the top of their page. Better have a drink. A lot of work, yeah. So we go through this, and then going through Andre Fletcher, who did well in the CPL, and then just going down. I mean, actually, one name that's missing from that list, and oh my god, my mind's gone blank again. I see the picture of him. Oh my god, the normal captain. People in the chat room, help me out.
Holder.
Jason Holder. Jason Holder.
Jason Holder.
Jason Holder. Yeah, name missing from the T20 squad is Jason Holder. But as we scroll down, we've got Dwayne Bravo, but it's a withdrawn player. So obviously, I'm not sure what's happened there. But Dwayne Bravo, unfortunately, won't be turning up. So it's a bit frustrating there. So because, again, you want to see the top players coming along and playing well. But one name that's sort of standing out there, Nicholas Puran, who's done well again. Another player who's done not too badly in the IPL, which when we talk about what we were talking about previously, players coming into this format of the game with not much match time. Yeah, the West Indies looking pretty good with some of their number of their players that have actually had good game time in the IPL.
Looking at, I mean, quite a few young players as well. I mean, Shefran Rutherford is only 20. Chiron Pollard is only 20.
Yep.
Obi McCoy, 21. Shimron Hetmer, 21. I mean, there's a O'Shane Thomas, 21. There's a bunch of players there that the.
What are you reading? It's 23.
Who's sorry?
You need glasses. It's 23.
Who is?
O'Shane Thomas and Shimron Hetmeyer.
Not on the one I'm looking at.
Look at the one I've put up.
I can't. That's too small.
No, but anyway, no, it is a young squad. It is a young squad, and a lot of these players actually come through from an under-19 tournament, not the last one, obviously, but because that was just last year, I believe. The previous under-19 tournament where West Indies did very well. So quite a lot of young players that have come through from that under-19 squad and coming up. Yeah, Aaron is just mentioning another one there. Andre Russell also missing. So a lot falling on the shoulders of the likes of a Chiron Pollard and the Sheldon Cottrell, who I mentioned before, but players that can stand up in that situation.
Sorry, folks. Yeah, I for some reason I had the list up of the tour to India, not the tour to New Zealand, which is why some of the names weren't matching and the ages definitely weren't. So I was looking at a list from 2 years ago.
So, hey, we forgive you. You're helping out, so we forgive you on that one. Yeah. So yeah. Look, I mean, Shimron Hetmeyer is he's a good player. He just got to deliver, and he's been having some good moments. So again, another opportunity here. He'll definitely get an opportunity to sort of to show his wares and to help the West Indies out with their younger brigade. And just the name that I was going to mention, Andre Fletcher. Fantastic ability. So with the younger squad, those are the types. At 32 years, he's one of the guys that's going to have to stand up in their top order. So we'll move on to the New Zealand side. Now, with the New Zealand squad, we've got two T20 squads to look at. We've got a squad for the first two T20s, and then we've got a squad for the last one. Yeah, I wasn't too sure. Aaron's just saying that they're pretty sure the West Indies won that under-19 tournament. Not last year. The year before, because we knocked West Indies out in the last one. So the New Zealand under-19. So I'm pretty sure that they won the previous edition of the under-19 tournament. So moving along to the New Zealand T20 squad, and at the top we've got Tim Southee as the captain. Now Tim Southee's an interesting player when it comes to the Black Caps, because a lot of fans sort of think, what's he still doing there? But when you actually go look at his stats and look at his contribution, you understand then why what he's still doing there. But just sometimes at key moments, he's sort of, and that's what we remember, I suppose, as fans. He's gone for a few runs, or he's let the side, hasn't quite delivered what he should have done as the experienced player in the squad. And it's also interesting to look at when we think about how long Tim Southee's been around. He's still only 31. So yeah, rather interesting there. So yeah, there we go. Yep, Paul's looked it up, and they won in 2016. So those players would have come through from that 4 years ago with the under-19s, and they're now 23. That's about roughly right for 4 years.
Yeah, so India won it in New Zealand in 2018, and then Bangladesh beat India last year. This year, sorry, in Japan.
In Japan?
Only every 2 years.
In South Africa.
In South Africa.
Yeah.
Bangladesh won it in South Africa.
Yes. Now, the interesting name that we see on that list right under Tim Southey is Devon Conway. And I think there's a lot of New Zealand fans that are waiting to see how Devon Conway goes on the international stage. He's been lighting it up at first-class level and in the domestic scene. Unfortunately, with the COVID situation, he was going to make his, let's say, debut appearances in the black jersey in Sri Lanka, but that tour ultimately got cancelled. And so he's now had to wait until this series, the home and summer cricket season. And so he'll be coming in. He's had some pretty good form coming leading into this at first class level. I've only, as I mentioned before, only been playing first class matches, 4-day matches in New Zealand. So, and he has played in that warm-up match against the West Indies. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's firstly selected for that first game. And if he is, I think there'll be high expectations. No pressure, son. As the Kiwis look for you to deliver with all the big talk that we've built up around you. And it is, to be fair, the fans that have built it up, and the journalists and the fans that have built it up around him.
I mean, he's not the only debutant there. I mean, Kyle Jamieson is also his debut
at T20 level. At T20 level, he's played ODIs, international ODIs, and he's obviously played Test matches as well. So he's got a bit of he's sort of been there and thereabouts. And the other thing is that he's basically a regular for the Test matches, really. And with the ODIs, they do a bit of rotation to make sure they don't wear out the bowlers. So I think for Kyle Jamieson, it's he'll be a bit more comfortable and a bit more at ease than, say, someone like Devon Conway. But another name that we'll be looking forward to is, breaking the speed radar is Lockie Ferguson, who on the number of games that he played in the IPL, he was actually leading the table for the number of balls over 150 Ks. So, we'll be looking forward to that. And any little Eden Park first game, any bit of wood that misses the wicket keeper is going through to the boundary for 4, because nobody's going to cut that ball off with the short boundaries right behind the wicket keeper, and even possibly going through for a 6 because they're so short. So the faster they come, the faster they go, they say. And Lockie will want to make sure that if he's hitting wood, it's the 3 sticks behind the batsman, not the 1 stick that he's holding. Moving down. Yep.
Have we explained why there's a different squad for the first 2 and the last one yet? Or do you want me to do that?
Basically, no, go for it. Go for it. I was going to come to it, but no, go for it.
Yeah, so Tim Southey, Ross Taylor, and Kyle Jamieson will depart to go to to join the Test squad, and that's why they're going to miss that last game, and they'll be replaced by Doug Bracewell, Scott
Kuggeleijn.
And Mark Chapman.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me to spell Kuggeleijn, I would not get anywhere near that. But then again, I'm dyslexic.
Well,
so not a surprise.
If I asked you to spell Llanelli, you wouldn't put how many L's in it.
Well, that's true.
Hey, look, just another name that, again, the names that are popping up, names that are actually delivered at international level already. Daryl Mitchell, look forward to him. He's moved from Northern down to Canterbury, so he's been doing really well already down there. But looking forward to seeing him carry on that success at that international level in the T20s. Underrated, hugely underrated player in my books.
Okay, I've got to stop us here for this fantastic big nugget that Simon's put in the live chat here. Apparently, Japan actually played in the Under 2019 Cricket World Cup due to Papua New Guinea team shoplifting in Tokyo and got disqualified. So there we go. So that's that, exactly that. It was exactly that moment that I was thinking about that caught my mind.
That's what I was thinking about. Absolutely. So yep, as Paul's alluded to, there was the third one, and there's Doug Bracewell there that pops in, and he replaces Kyle Jamison. I keep wanting to say Kyle Jamison. Yeah, this is like, as Aaron says, another Mitchell on a journey. It's Daryl Mitchell, just in case people aren't aware, is actually the son of John Mitchell, ex All Black and All Blacks coach. So that's basically the Black Caps squad, and for the game this week, and the West Indies squad. We don't know who's actually been selected at this point. Teams will come out later in the week.
Is it really worth adding 3 players just for one game at the end there?
No.
I was going to say, is the squad? I mean, is the squad big enough to put a team out without them? And if so, what's the point in adding them? I guess.
Let's hang on. I'll just squeeze my screen down a little bit more and go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 10, 12, 13. So you've got 2 spare players, and yeah, to be fair, you do want to, if you're taking 3 out, you probably do want to add 2 out, 3 out, whatever it is. You want, because two things there. If conditions are depending on what the conditions are they fast and bouncy? Is it dry? Are you going to take the extra spin option, or are you going to take the extra fast bowling option? And that gives you that flexibility to make that decision on the morning of the game, or the day of the game, so to speak. So, yeah, look, you really are traveling generally with a make sure whatever format it is, you're whittling it down to a squad of 13 that you're selecting your match day 11 from.
Yeah, why not have 16 for the first 2 and then drop to 13 for that last one?
Oh, absolutely.
So it just seems strange to bring them in there, that last one.
Let's face it, the reality of the situation is this. Most likely, the 3 that are going to join for that last one are already going to be there and from the first one.
Yep.
And if they're not from the first one, definitely from the second one, because both the second and third T20s are both at Mount Maunganui. And
they are one day after each other, which really seems like, why are you pulling these players a day early? They might get involved in the warm in. I mean, they're not going to play until the 3rd. So does that one day make that much difference? I don't know. That seems a bit strange.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously with other sports, we've been talking about that recently as well. So, and it does sort of like, you're left as a supporter fan when you look at these things, and you're left scratching your head as to what the rationale and what the logic is behind doing these sorts of things.
And also holding a first-class game from the 3rd to the 6th of December at the same time as the Test match from the 3rd to the 7th of December. So that first-class game will be mainly played by
the Test match is on.
Well, it's played while the Test match is on. So surely, if the West Indies are putting a West Indies A out, they're going to have probably a lot of their T20 guys
playing in that. Yep.
Rather than having brought two Test teams.
I'm just wondering, is it clear? I'll just go to the fixtures list, which you're obviously at.
Yep. It's clear that it's New Zealand A versus West Indies A.
Right. Okay. It is. Yeah. See, that's just a bizarre call. That's a bizarre one. That is. Unless it's just, again, coming back to what I said way earlier in the show in terms of just making sure that the players are used to the playing, that format of the game. But then we haven't had any T20 warm-up games.
And having a Test warm-up game during the Test match seems a bit. Maybe it is a matter of, look, you've brought these T20 guys over. Why have them just play 3 days worth of cricket on a
Let's give them some game time, considering they had 2 weeks of isolation, quarantining, in which they weren't allowed to talk to the other 10 people and have their meals together. So now we'll give you some game time.
And it is also in Mount Maunganui again, so it's in the same place as the 2 T20s. But yeah, it just seems a bit strange. A first-class game played by T20.
Absolutely. Can't disagree with you on that one. Well, anyway, so I suppose we'll have a look at those by the time we get back next Monday, and hopefully we'll have our key analyst guys available so they can actually break down what happened a bit better than what we can, Paul. In terms of
the insight I've been giving, Now,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But
why
but
people are
technique, but the
going and
technique of the players, even I'm sort of astounded by the knowledge of the guys when they talk about the technique of the batsman. It's just like, what? Didn't even think of that.
no, they are, yes, they are very knowledgeable. That is very true.
So it's like break it down on Monday. We'll have three T20s to talk about. And speaking of three T20s, we'll also have a couple of one days to talk about as well, which we'll move on to now with the Australia and India. So just bringing up the Australian squad. I don't think there's too many surprises um, in the Australian squad there. Aaron Finch is a captain once again. Pretty much the same squad that went to England to play the three ODIs and three T20s earlier in the year as well, where they actually did. I thought personally, surprisingly better than I expected them to. But just moving down the list, as I said, the usual sort of names that we've come used to seeing. Pat Cummins, who will obviously be spearheading the attack as well, and just be a case of who they throw out. I mean, they obviously rotate. They definitely rotate their bowlers around. They've got a test match series, 4 tests against India later on, so they'll be looking at making sure they're looking after their bowling stocks. So again, the Hazelwoods and the Cummins, and we got Starks. We're going to be rotated with Andrew Ties, etc. The interesting one for me will be Marcus Stoinis, who will he make it through the Test match squads, because he's obviously favoured in the ODIs and the T20s, and he's come into a bit of form late in the IPL, so he'll be looking to carry that on into the ODIs against the Little Indians.
The trying to check I've got the right squad here before it starts making.
Not the one from 1974.
Yes. Apparently there are 5 uncapped players in the 17-man test group to play India.
Yeah. There are some names. They've had a couple of players that have had some really good first class start to the season, and they're really looking. They've brought them in. There's the names escaping me at the moment, but yeah, they've got a few players that have really broken into the scene and had a really successful start to the season. But we'll look at those. Sorry, yeah, Paul.
Oh, sorry, you're not looking at. You don't want me to mention them?
Oh, I did go for it. We'll look at the squads again anyway before the test. But yeah, that's the one. Will Pukovski.
Exactly. Will Pukovski and Cameron Green, along with Boone, Hughes, and Border. Apparently, no, that's not. That's the wrong list. No, along with Mitchell Sweepson,
Yep.
the spinner, and semi all-rounders Michael Naser and Sean Abbott. Apparently, also in there as well.
Yeah, but it's the one that Matthews mentioned is Will Puskowski. I'll say that we'll get it right when we hear the commentators say it eventually. But he's the one that's been absolutely tearing it up in the Sheffield Shield over there. And he scored multiple hundreds, and I think he might have even got a double hundred as well in the lead up. So
you're bigging him down here. Double century, successive double centuries.
Double centuries. There you go.
There you go. Yep.
Basically, not only just putting his hand up, but basically jumping into the team himself.
Yes, get out of the way. I'm coming through.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's interesting though, because I mean, I said you've got the squad. Is Labuschane's in the squad there, in the test squad as well? I'm guessing.
So Tim Payne, Sean Abbott, Joe Burns, Pat Cummings, Cameron Green, Josh Hazelwood, Travis Head, Marnus Lubrowski, Nathan Leon, Michael Naser, James Patterson, Will Puskowski, who is apparently an American cop, Steve Smith, Mitchell Stark, Mitchell Sweepson, Matthew Wade, and David Warner.
Right. Okay. So you want to? Was it? But did you see a name Marnus? Did you see the name Marnus there?
Marnus
Labuschagne.
Labuschagne.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because they're actually, the discussion is whether will take. I'll just say will take his position. Now he's been one of the finds for Australia in the last year or so. He's been absolutely amazing at that international level. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, Matthew, a bit surprised Marcus Harris didn't get picked, but there we go.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a name that's not familiar to me, so I can't really comment on it.
He's in the A squad, but not in the test squad.
Not in the test squad. Yep, sure. Yeah, so moving on to just sort of like, well, just I think nothing else more to say there. Moving on to the Indian squad, and really Virat Kohli there at the top of the list, but as we know, he's actually on his way home, already home, awaiting the arrival of his first kid. So, but in saying that, we look at those. Let's look at these names here. The first three on the right-hand column, and then the second one under Virat Kohli. Names that have just been absolutely ripping it up in the IPL. In fact, even Chahal as a bowler, just under him, you got Suresh Iyer. So KL Rahul, who was at the top of the batting list for the IPL runs. He's got 690 odd runs. He was 70 odd runs clear of the next closest. Jasprit Bumrah, who was second only to Rabada on the bowling wickets taken, even his economy rate. This is IPL, obviously at T20, and we're talking ODIs, but his economy rate was 6.7 in an IPL, or around the 6 mark anyway, and it's just like, it's phenomenal for a T20 game. Shikhar Dhawan, who again, it'll be interesting to see how he goes in Australia. Likes to swing the bat a bit, so but again has had a very good IPL. But yeah, and then backed up by Suresh Iyer, who's really came into it as captain of his squad as well. Mohammad Sami, who came in late, started to put in some good performances. Again, very economical. So, yeah, look, I think it is ODI, and all these players have been playing T20 or first-class cricket. So, a little bit different, but I think it's going to be an absolute cracking competition. It'll just be a case of have the Indians had enough time to get used to the bouncy Australian pitches. Now, we talked about acclimatization within New Zealand, but going to Australia is just so much more different because of those bouncier pitches. I don't know if you go anywhere else in the world to get pitches as bouncy as the ones you get in Australia.
And I mean, that's you say they've been playing in the UAE. I'm not quite sure what their pitches are like. Or I've not got a clue what their pitches are like. But yeah, as you say, I'd expect to be very different to playing in Australia.
It actually will definitely come down to whether they've adjusted. I think will be a big factor in that. Especially with the 50 over match. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Put it that way. In saying that, they've got the bowling stocks to be able to compete with Australia now, which we've seen on the previous tours that they've had. So. Yeah, interesting, Aaron, saying that Shikhar Dhawan has a house in Brisbane, lives there 6 months. So, yeah, well, he'll acclimatise okay. It's whether he's used to the batting. Yeah, not much more we can say there about that. Couple of players that are sort of like, again, put their hands up during IPL. Sanju Samson had a pretty good IPL as well. So, there's quite a few players within that Indian squad that will be looking to transfer their form that they've shown in IPL. And you've got to say that IPL competition's pretty, with international players coming in, it's sort of quite a competitive competition for repetitive bit of alliteration there. But it's now time to say, hey, we're doing it at that level. We've got to duplicate that for our national team as well.
And as you say, we have the England's tour to South Africa. Also, their T20s kick off on Friday as well.
No, I'll be honest with you, that is one that I've totally missed.
So currently, we've had Team Butler versus Team Morgan, apparently, and Team Butler won by 50 runs in that one in a 40 over game as a practice match. So an inter-squad game down there in in Newlands. It looks like they've got a couple of other sort of inter-squad matches as warm-ups. But yeah, the first T20 is on the 27th, sorry, which is Friday. Then they play Sunday and then Tuesday in Newlands, then Boland Park, then back to Newlands again. For those, before they have 3 one-day internationals after that on the 4th, 6th, and 9th of December. So lots of T20 action coming up this weekend across multiple.
There's plenty of international cricket, and like you got, I mean, England will be going to South Africa on pretty much on a big high. They've been winning well at home consistently. They did very well in all the series that they played in their summer. Excuse me. So they'll be going, as I say, to South Africa with confidence. You've got Jofra Archer, who's been again had a great IPL. So Chris Jordan, who I believe was playing in the PSL, I might have there. I'm not sure about that, but and then players that have been doing just in the last 12 months doing so well. Ben Stokes, player that is one of those players that has become a player that really everybody likes to watch. As long as they're not playing their own country. So, one of those players. This is like, do well. We love watching you play and how you play the game, just not against us. That type player, and it'll be good. It'll be interesting to see how they go in South Africa. There's that interesting thing we've always talked about recent times, the that isolation, the quarantining process, and the effects that can have on a touring squad. Throw in the factor that they've actually gone to South Africa, who haven't got COVID under control. So you're now gone to play in a place where, sure, you've gone through the quarantining process, but you also know that, hey, we want to stick to our bubble because,
Well, I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure England's had it under control either. To be honest.
Well, but at the time that the summer series went on, the England hadn't exploded at that time. So and so touring teams weren't sort of thinking about, we got to make sure we don't mingle with the natives.
No, I get that. I mean, I'm just saying, if you as a black cap going over to play in South Africa or the UK, I would be thinking, actually, I'll stay home. Thank you very much. It's whereas if you're leaving from England to go somewhere else, or leaving from South Africa to go somewhere else, hey, whether you're at home or whether you're abroad, it's equally a mess at the moment. But
right,
is what I was kind of referring to. But interesting. I mean, players like Jofra Archer, Ben Stokes in the T20 side, but not in the ODI side. So about 4 or 5 changes, I think, was there between the two.
That's it. That'll be an interesting one, to tell you the truth, because I mean, like, are they doing a quarantine process in South Africa? We don't actually know that, do we? We'd assume that there's some sort of. Well, actually, no. Why would we assume that?
They must. Well, whether they have to quarantine.
No, because I'm sort of thinking about our friends in America. There's no quarantining process in America.
Oh, sure. I say whether they have to quarantine or not, I don't know, but I'm sure they will have their own bubble to try and keep themselves healthy so they can play the test matches. A bit like the NBA stayed healthy and had a bubble.
Yeah.
So I expect them to have a bubble, but they may not. As you say, they may not be having to quarantine as such.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, just Aaron's comments in terms of it's interesting that South Africa is actually playing the series, because they haven't actually had a lot of domestic cricket, if any at all. So going along with their other sporting teams, I would say they're going in rather underprepared. Again,
one of these things of, look, in these times, get what sport you can. I think.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely. I think so, and also I actually my view on this whole current sporting environment is it's not about the sport or winning or losing. It's actually putting on some sport so that the rest of the world has got something to watch, and normality is sort of coming back. So you're actually doing a service beyond your sport, basically, by playing this and trying to do it some level of normal within the confines of what rules there are as well, obviously. So So I sort of that's what I sort of way I view it. It's just like doesn't matter what sport it is. It's just basically if we didn't, sport's such a big part of the globe of the world. Most people watch some sport. We're not just talking about cricket here. Their favorite sport. So to take that away, if we didn't have any sport to watch, there would be a massive void that would make living a normal life quite interesting. Put it that way. I'll say it that way. I suppose. I think people get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, so look, when we had lockdown here in New Zealand, one of the things that I suppose helped the both of us was the fact we stood up this New Zealand Sport Radio, and we talked about sport every single day, and we have talked about sport every single day for the past 236 days. So we've done it for a long time now, and that helped us with our sanity during that time.
Yep, I think so.
Yep. The Aaron, it is the wrong show for it, but we could held down a very, very quick rabbit hole. He's saying that the Springboks have been told that, yes, but they do have their own Super Rugby going on at the moment, which I think is one of the reasons they also didn't come. So they've got their own competition that they want to play and provide to their fans locally.
I thought we better just go quickly over the South African squad too. Sorry,
just continue on your sort of bubble thing. Is one of the things about all sports people is they have to be selfish. Everything has to be about them and their performance, and that support has come from their family, from their friends, from everything else, and they have to focus 100% on their sport, or about 95%. They're allowed 5% to actually have a life, but the majority of their focus has to be on what they do as a sports person, which is where some of them have been sort of going home and going, oh, wow, is this how you cook? And things like that, because that's all done for them normally. But during lockdown, these sort of things are things that they've actually had time to do. But they have to focus entirely on it to perform at the level that they do. Because if they don't, somebody else will, and that other person will beat them. Okay?
Yep.
So it does have to be, so it is a very selfish existence whilst you're a sports person, and a lot of them
level sports people. Yep, absolutely.
They have to give back out afterwards. It's very difficult to be in that zone if you're worried about your loved ones, if your friends and family are sick or losing their jobs or etc. One of the things that Ashwin will know, because he's seen the interview from one of the local rugby teams here in New Zealand, you could tell that those distractions are taking their impact on sporting people. So it is one of those things. Look, Paul, you mean like the rest of us who work? No, I don't think we don't concentrate on our jobs and focus on our jobs to the same extent as sports people do just on sport. We can have a few beers.
Yeah, the focus is different. Focus is absolutely different.
We can relax our focus. We don't have to.
Yep.
So I do. So yeah. So it is. That is one of the things that I think is you'll see different players, different sports people who have been able to shut those things out, or don't have such troubling things happening outside, who will be overperforming at the moment, and other players or other people who you think they're not performing very well at the moment. Why not? It's probably because of distractions outside of sport as well. We do focus on our jobs. We don't focus on our jobs 24/7. And as a sports person, you have to focus on your sport 24/7 for your body to be ready to. If you're not,
I think it's become more of a modern phenomenon too, and the fact is that it means so much more when you're a top level sports person now because of the dollars involved as well. And if you give someone else an opportunity, that could be the end of your career. So you've got to stay on top of your game all the time. You've got to make sure and that's where some of the young people that come early in the early years into professional sport don't get that, do they? I know we talked about that last night in terms of one of our other shows. In terms of they'll make mistakes, in terms of having the big night out before practice type thing is what we were talking about the other night, and that's the type of mistake that you can't make as a professional, because you get left out of for one game for disciplinary reasons. The guy coming in might cement his position in that squad. So you got to stay focused all the time.
you have the guys who aren't quite as talented, who have had to work all their time, and they actually get to the end of their careers and go, I had no life. Where did my life go? As well. So you have the flip side of that as well. The other people who
absolutely
have been entirely focused on it, and that's all they do. They literally, you ask them, okay, what is happening outside of your bubble? And they're like, sorry, I can't make political comments because I literally don't know. All I do is get on my bike and cycle. And my entire life,
I want to ride my bicycle.
my entire life is about how many calories I put into my body, and either resting or cycling. That's all I do.
Yeah, but just as look, so what Aaron's saying, that we don't focus on it. We focus on our jobs, but we also at times go, "Oh, screw that! I can't be asked doing that." And I know he can't argue with that because I know he's done it. We've all done that in terms of, that can wait till tomorrow, or I'm just not dealing with it. And you can go talk to somebody else. I don't care. As a top level sports person, you can't do that, right? I mean, in a different sense, but they can't just fob something in their life that's not quite right. They have to fix it because that will impact their performance.
Yeah, I mean, they are one of 15 people, if you talk about an All Black kind of thing, in this country. There's more than 15 people at your level doing your job, Jack, for most people, right? We are, even if
but look, let's not worry about the numbers side of it. At the end of the day, we can actually make that call as I can't be asked with that. Like if we've got a customer or somebody and we're doing well enough, we can say, nah, can't be asked dealing with that person.
Sorry, but you're going to touch on the South African squad, but the
South African squad, and one name in particular, who I'll blow it up. There we go.
Oh, I can read it. That's nice.
There we go. Can you see it? And Unrik Norche is like absolutely again and one of the 150 plus bowlers, and the amount of 150 balls that he sent down in the IPL was just absolutely massive. And he was at the top of the tables as well in terms of bowling performance. So that's one player that battle between him and Archer could be quite a fun and interesting one to watch as well. So that's just one name that we definitely wanted to sort of call on. I'm just saying, then we got obviously the guy that finished at the top of the table of the IPL in terms of wickets taken, and not too badly in the economy rates, not a little bit higher, but than say Bumrah did, but Rabada, Kagiso Rabada, is really sort of again a world-class performer. So that'll be interesting to see how England go against Rabada and against Norche, and obviously coming back the other way, we're going to have Archer coming back at the South Africans. I think the South Africans, to be honest, looking a bit light on the old batting side of things. Unless they can sort of talk to maybe, De Kock did well in the IPL. Faf du Plessis started off really well in the IPL, but then didn't quite get that success, and might have been because of the way the team was performing that he was in towards the back end of the IPL. Maybe they can talk to AB and see if he's might be able to come out of retirement when he's just finished playing in the IPL as well.
Yep. And now Aaron agrees. You think South Africa good on the bowling side, going to struggle on the batting side.
Struggling on the batting side, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I got to wonder, actually, is one of the reasons that you've got your Joffrey Archers and your Ben Stokes aren't playing in the ODIs, is it because they've had the CPL, the IPL, they've had that England summer, they actually just need a break?
No, well, I don't think so, because they didn't play in the CPL, I don't believe, because the CPL was going on when the tours to England were happening, so I don't think they were involved in that. Could be a bit of that. But then, sort of what we talked about before is that, if they have gone over to South Africa, you're living in bubbles, you've got extended squads. Maybe that's a factor, just giving everybody a run. You have got the oh my God, the two twins, Sam.
Yeah, Sam and Tom Curran are both there.
Curran, that's it. And they really have stepped up over the winter. I call it our winter, the English summer. They're performing really well. So they've got depth to be able to replace those two with. I think Ben Stokes, the issue that they have, I don't think he has replaced Ben Stokes Yeah, Ben Stokes was in New Zealand for a while. We'll come to that in a sec. You don't replace Ben Stokes because of his ability with bat and ball. Sort of, generally with an all-rounder, it's like this one stronger than the other sort of thing. Ben Stokes, both of his abilities with bat and ball, I feel, he could be easily a third choice, second choice seamer in the England team, and he could easily be the number 4, number 5 batter in the England team just on those disciplines alone. And we've seen that happen where he's been selected for batting only in the English team. Saying what Aaron's saying, Ben Stokes spent a considerable amount of time while the series was going on in the UK, in New Zealand, obviously with his ill father. So it's not like he's played too much. So yeah, who knows what's going through the mind of the management.
Cool.
That's about it, isn't it? Really?
I think so.
Yeah, happy days. I mean, we didn't quite get onto the Plunket Shield, but just briefly go on to that. We've got Canterbury at the top, and then Northern in second place, followed by 1 point behind in Auckland. So top 3 there. That'll resume in the last couple of months of our summer with another round there. So in the meantime, we'll see some Super Smash and Ford Trophy coming to replace that. So we'll talk about that as the results started happening there. Yeah, Aaron saying maybe resting for the Ashes. I'm not sure when the Ashes is coming up. If we just quickly, before we split, see if anything's there. Australia. It looks like there's a decent enough gap between. Oops.
You did
that. Sorry, you did that. Oh, yep.
While you're talking about when the Ashes is.
Yeah, no, I just said I'm not sure when the Ashes is actually. So I'm sure you'll get enough rest time between now and the Ashes. Cool. There is a pretty crowded. I think because of COVID, the schedule has become a little bit crowded. We've got quite a few world tournaments that are going to be back to back. IPL starts again in May, I think it is, and then you've got the ODI, the T20 World Cup, which will be in India, and then there'll be a T20 World Cup in Australia as well. So 2022 sort of thing. So yeah, not sure when this maybe resting is an element of it.
And obviously the important cricket tournament of the in world cricket, Kumu managed to beat Cornwall as well at the weekend. So congratulations, Kumu.
Outright, which is quite an achievement in 2-day cricket.
Okay.
You've got to bowl a team out twice in 2 days of cricket.
Oh, so there was no that means when he says outright, there was no sporting declarations then?
No, there were just really low scores.
Okay.
Oh, there could have been sporting declarations as well. Actually, no, there wouldn't have been a sporting declaration in that one. Not just because I know the scores. So there wasn't a requirement for sporting declarations. But you could have if you in those 2-day games in club cricket, you don't really have sporting declarations. What you generally have is an aggressive declaration, because you sort of think, we could if we declare now, there's a chance we could bowl these guys out again for less than what we've scored, or we could have 30 or 40 runs to try and get quickly.
No sporting declarations. I see. Okay.
But that's enough. Yeah, I suppose we better close the show out. And my voice is about to go.
So thank you everybody for joining us live on the show. Don't forget you can join the Swinging from the Hip at 8 p.m. every Monday evening. But we might be discussing that as there is a T20 game on at 8 p.m. next Monday. But we'll discuss that amongst ourselves and let you know what is going to go on. And we will come back to you. Don't forget, tomorrow night we'll have the Driving Wall show at 8 p.m. where we'll be talking about Mitre 10 Cup players who have not got super contracts, who has been unlucky, and also we'll be talking about players and maybe not getting much game time as well. And don't forget, at 7 a.m. every single morning we have got the morning sports briefing, your best way to start the day up to speed with all the important sports news. Thank you very much, Ashwin.
Yeah, no worries. And thanks for popping in.